Hi, I'm Alicia and welcome to the Mintay Papers YouTube channel. Today I'm creating 3 beautiful cards using the Mintay Papers Antique Shop 6x8 paper pad, the basic white 12x12 cardstock. To create these beautiful cards, they have a mixed media feel. I've used the Damask stencil with the Mintay chalk paste to create a lovely pattern on each of the 3 cards. I've also used the Happy Birthday chipboard, which I painted with a variety of colours including white chalk paint, Rosebud chalk paint and Anthracite chalk paint. In this tutorial, I take you step by step through the process to create these cards, so let's get started. We're starting with our Mintay Basic 12x12 white cardstock, and we're going to cut this to 8 inches by 8 inches. Once that is done, simply fold in half to create a 4x8 slimline long card. I'm making 3 cards today, and I'm using the beautiful Antique Shop paper pad. Now, this is the 6x8 paper pad, and I'm playing around with the different colour combinations that are in the pad. I'm cutting the front cover of the card to 3 3/4 by 7 3/4 inches, and I'm just gluing that straight down onto my base cardstock. I'm cutting the next little leftover strip to 6 1/2 by 2 1/4. And I'm cutting my leftover cardstock to 2 1/2 by 6 3/4. And I'm layering that paper down onto that strip of cardstock, and that's going to go in the center of my card. You can use mounting tape or you can use cardboard to layer onto your card, and I'm going to do an extra strip here for a bit of extra height, because we're going to layer some bits and pieces into our card. For the inside, I'm going to be cutting again at 3 3/4 by 7 3/4 for a little bit of pretty paper on the inside of my card where I can write a message. And that's the base card done. Now we're using this Damask stencil by Mintay today. It's got this lovely pattern, and I'm also using Mintay's chalk paste to put through my stencil. Now you'll see that we have this lovely design, and we're going to pop that in the middle of our panel, but towards the top. Now make sure that you've given your chalk paste a really good stir up and it's ready to go. And then we're just going to spread this evenly through the pattern, but we're only using one of the patterns. You can see that there's lots of these Damask patterns on this stencil. We're just using one. You might like to use more than one. Completely up to you. And then I'm just scraping off any excess and lifting it off like that, and it does a beautiful, beautiful job. If you get any little bits that you didn't want on there, you just use a baby wipe and you can just wipe that off, not a problem. And then to clean it, just use some baby wipes to just wipe everything down while it's all wet and before it dries. And there it is. Really pretty. So because I'm making 3 cards, I did do that 3 times, and I followed the same recipe each time to create the 3 different cards, just playing around with the different color combinations in the paper. Now I've used the Happy Birthday chipboard, and I painted one in white, in the white chalk paint. And I also painted one in the Anthracite chalk paint. That's that dark grey. And for my last one today, I would like to use the Rosebud colour, number 4. So to do this, you can use a paintbrush or you can use a foam brush, and you're just spreading the paint onto the chipboard and covering up that happy birthday sentiment, and then once it's dry we can press it out. Now while we're waiting for that to dry, we can do some fussy cutting, and for the embellishments I use this page here in the 6x8 book. It's got some beautiful floral clusters and some pretty roses as well. So that's what we're going to use today to decorate our card. So to begin with, we're going to start with a large floral cluster, and we're just putting it in the center of our Damask mixed media piece. And then I'm cutting one smaller floral cluster into half. So we're going to have a little bit poking out at the top and a little bit poking out at the bottom. And I've just glued that flat down onto the paper. On top of that, I'm going to add a little bit of cheesecloth, which will just layer gently over that little flower that we've glued down. And then on top of that, I've cut one of those pretty roses in half. I'm using some recycled cardboard to give it a little bit more depth and height. And I'm just pasting that directly on top of my little floral cluster and my cheesecloth. And then when I put my panel in the middle of my card, you will be able to see those little bits poking out on either side. And now I'm going to do that again for my pink card. So I've cut the floral cluster in half, and I'm going to glue one at the bottom and one at the top, poking out from behind my middle rectangle. Then I'm going to cover that with some cheesecloth on both little elements. And then I'm going to cut a rose in half, add a little bit of recycled cardboard to the back of each, and layer it on top of my little floral cluster. And then on top of that, I will put my rectangle in the center. Now, I'm going to use some more cheesecloth on top of my Damask stencil, and then I will add some cardboard and my floral cluster on top of that. Okay, and they're both looking really, really pretty. Then I'm going to put my happy birthday on top of the floral cluster. And this one as well. It's a little hard to read in the dark grey, but I was trying to get a bit of a different sort of effect for each card. I'm just using the white chalk paint to splitter and splatter some mixed media bits and pieces over my card to help them have that mixed media feel. And then I'm using some liquid glitter glue to trace over the sentiment to give it some glittery shine. Last of all, I go around the edges with the glitter for more shine, sparkle. Now, the last little bit of our card is embellishing it with some little jewels. I've added some silver, sort of diamante type jewels, some tiny little flower jewels on this card, and some different flower jewels on this side, on this card. So you can use whatever you've got in your stash. Then I just made some lace bows and some silver bows, and I'm just gluing that all down with a little flower, just to decorate my card. Glue that all down. Just to decorate. If you didn't want to have the flower and the ribbon, you don't have to add that in. Depends how fancy you want your card to be. That just gives it just a little bit more, something more to pretty it up a little bit. And that brings us to the end of our tutorial. Our cards are now finished and I hope you really like them. You can certainly play around with the different colours in the 6x8 paper pad and really create different effects from the same paper pad. I think this is my favourite because I love pink and I love how that has a really soft feel to it. Thank you so much for joining me for this tutorial on how to create 3 pretty cards with the Antique Shop Paper Collection by Mintay. Stay tuned to the Mintay YouTube channel for more videos coming up. Make sure you are subscribed. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you have a lovely crafty day.